Our pharmacy is unique in as much as we are probably one of the largest compounding pharmacies in the country. And I personally have trained over 500 pharmacists to do compounding. If you go to USC today, you may get a week of compounding, USC School of Pharmacy. UC San Diego, you get one 2-hour lecture. When Steve and I went to pharmacy school, we had literally 2 years of compounding. 2 years. What a difference. We had pharmacognosy, we had all these different courses. Today's healthcare is basically controlled and directed by the drug companies. And because the drug companies have all that power, they've taken a lot of the power away from doctors and a lot of the power away from pharmacists. In California alone, last year, more than 64% of Californians went to alternative doctors that were not covered by their insurance and paid cash or by credit card. So our healthcare is changing and needs to change. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about something called Kangen water, which is it's a water that's made from a special machine, and this water machine is made in Japan. They have 5 people in charge of the production, and of the 5 people in charge of the production, they do 22 different quality controls on each machine before it is goes through the assembly line. And the machines are also made in a sterile environment. And there's a reason that the Japanese have become very interested in water. A long time ago, they discovered that there is a lot of problems with the water because their pipes are mostly made of lead. Lead pipes leach. And when you have lead pipes leaching, what happens, you get lead in your water. Causes cancer, stomach cancer, brain cancer. They also don't have much calcium in their water. In most cities in Japan, there's almost no calcium. In China, they have the worst water in the world. That is their big problem, is water. So I was fortunate enough to learn about the Japanese water see that little machine over there, from one of my, from a pharmacologist, pharmacy professor in Albany School of Pharmacy about 12 years ago. So I knew about it, but I just didn't have any real information or data about it. So what's happened over the years, about 35 years ago, the process that makes this water was approved by the Japanese Ministry of Science, which is actually the FDA in Japan, as a medical device. It is still the only water ionizer machine that's approved as a medical device. So we have discs and DVDs and books and all kinds of things explaining the value of the water. Now, the interesting thing about drinking good water doesn't cure anything. But when you have a fish that's sick, you have to change the water, don't you? Otherwise the fish dies. When your body is sick and toxic, one of the things about drinking good water is you change the water in your body and you get what, a lot of times you get better. So we're not making any claims about Kangen water. However, I have hundreds of clients that could tell you stories about how it has affected them and what's happened since they've been drinking the water. People with every kind of disease and ailment known to man, just about. So tonight we're very fortunate to have a gentleman from Canada, and Barbara's going to introduce him, and I'll be around after the presentation to kind of answer any questions, because unfortunately I know a lot about this, and for me to explain it, you guys would be here all night. But just know that 1 out of 5 households in Japan, I've been told, drink this exact water. Why did they do that? How come in this country we don't do that? What's the reason? The reason is the pharmaceutical companies, the Pepsi-Cola, Coca-Cola, who make all this bottled water. It's a $22 billion industry in this country. We're the only country in the world that has bottled water without expiration dates. The average bottle of water that somebody drinks is usually from the day it was filled in the bottle to the day you drink it is about 2 years. Now I know I visited Costco during one of these days when it was 120 degrees, and you know what they have in that warehouse? They have all these cases of bottled water. We spend more money in this country on bottled water than we do gasoline. And the bottled water isn't really any better for you than tap water. So your doctor may tell you to drink water, hydrate yourself, but does that mean that you're doing the right thing? Well, in Japan they don't do that. In Japan, most of the doctors are very knowledgeable because they've had a big water problem, and they drink this water. They tell their patients to drink this water. They use it in the hospitals, they use it at clinics. And again, it's been an FDA approved process since 1965. That's amazing. So at this point, I'm going to have Barbara introduce our guest speaker, and she's going to say whatever she wants to say.
Gary and his wife Susie are Enagic distributors from Canada, and we met them this weekend. We've met some of their other friends this year, earlier when they came down from Canada. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the machine. I'm going to do that when we do the demonstration. I'd like you to hear Gary and his incredible story.
I've got an amazing story, and you can't take any shortcuts on it. Most testimonials take 1 to 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Mine's a little bit longer, because I think you have to understand the journey that I've been on and how fate or karma entered into my life. I'm just going to go back 4 years ago, last July. I went into the emergency ward. I've had colitis, diverticulitis all my life, and terrible diet, fish and chips and just acidic drinks, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, I've had lots of problems with it and dealt with it, tried to deal with it, but I guess it got too far, it went too far with it. And I went into emergency there, and I went on the operating table. I was supposed to be on there for about an hour and a half, but what happened is that when they opened me up, my colon blew up on the table. And consequently, I was in there for 7 hours. I went back to my room after that, minus a colon, okay? And that's when all hell broke loose, because what had happened after that is that I got staph, okay? Because when that happens, when something blows up inside, what do you think happens? I was in the hospital for for 3 months, and 5 times they went into here. Most of the time they just try to staple me up, or in one case I had a suction device. It was like a vacuum cleaner, big round thing that sucked because I had no stomach muscles left. I had nothing left. They couldn't put me together. So I was there with everything sticking out of me, intravenous. I was fed through a tube. I had one on my you-know-where down below. I had bags all over the place. I'd lost 70 pounds when I was in there. And when I left there, they sent me home basically to die. As a matter of fact, my last operation, the surgeon had called in my family. All my family that was there. It was just a wonderful thing, but I hadn't realized the doctors thought that I would not make it this time. I came out of that operation under the worst pain that I could describe to anybody. Anybody. The worst pain. They administered more morphine than they'd ever done to anybody else because of the pain. When I went home, I was using a walker. Everything at that point broke down on me. Not only had I lost 70 pounds in there, but I had sleep apnea. I had lung congestion so bad. And how do you like this one? How would you like to have nausea for 24 hours? This went on for 2.5 years. I had post-traumatic stress disorder from what happens when you go through that. anxiety, and of course the doctors, we talked about the doctors today. What they do is the Band-Aid boys, I call them. They give you the drugs. I got Zolapicone to put me asleep. I had Ativan for the anxiety. I got addicted to Ativan. And when I went in the doctors, I always made sure the most important thing is when I had to walk out with this Ativan, 30 or 40 of these Ativans, but it's supposed to be 1 or 2 a day. I was taking 10 a day. I was just eating them like candy. So my life was, every day was horrible, absolutely horrible. My nickname was Dead Man Walking, although I didn't find out about that until I recovered, but that's what the Dead Man Walking. Terrible. I used to see that old guy with a walker there. And I have a before and after pictures, and it's horrible. Anyways, I was aching from top to bottom. I developed neuropathy. That's your feet are dead. Got no circulation. I got to a point where I thought I was having a heart attack, and I developed heart arrhythmia from all the drugs. Just everything in general. Everything in general. My life was just absolutely horrible. As a matter of fact, I thought, my wife read something about the Whitaker's Wellness Center in Newport Beach, a great place, I must say, kind of to use natural remedies. She read this on a Friday night, and I thought I was having a heart attack. She had me on the plane Saturday. We went down to Whitaker, spent 2 weeks there, hyperbaric chambers, vitamin C drips. I had chelation. I had every treatment you could think of. I was getting shock treatments on my leg. They were working on my heart, the whole works. And I was a little better. I went down in a wheelchair and I managed to walk onto the plane. But when I got home, we'd spent $25,000 down there in 2 weeks trying to get better. And things weren't any better, to be quite honest with you. The depression, the aches, the pains, everything in general, it was just absolutely your will to live. That kind of leaves you. Now, everybody in here I know has some kind of an ailment of some sort. I don't care what it is, but you know what? The underlying thing is you have that sense of well-being. If you lose this sense of well-being, you've lost your life. I had lost this for 2.5 years. I fought this. I don't know how I stayed alive. I sat in a corner where it was dark and gloomy. And I tried everything, but on the way home from this Whitaker's clinic, my wife is a pretty wonderful lady. It's the reason why I'm here today. Is that she read a book called Balancing Your pH, getting your body from the acidic state to the alkaline state, and I hope you understand this because this is going to be your life. She read it cover to cover. And when she got home, she told me, I know the missing link to your health. We've been trying, Gary, and I know desperately I know what it is. I know what it is. She said, it's this alkaline water. And I thought she was nuts. Alkaline water? She says, water. It's the best water in the world. Anyway, she sends me down to a place to try, and I don't want to look for anything. But they don't know what's going on down there. I don't know what's going on. I come home and I tell her there's no alkaline water machine. Now this is fate, where fate comes in here. This is something that's really quite interesting, because when we were coming home from Newport Beach, her brother, Michael, was coming home from Calgary, Alberta. And he sat beside a fellow. His name was Joe. We call him Kangen Joe now. He sat beside this fellow, and he was an Enagic Kangen water machine salesperson, okay, right? And they didn't talk, but they exchanged business cards at the time. So the conversation goes like this. Michael phones Sister Susie, my wife, and says, listen, how's Gary? He's always, well, a little bit better. You know, he didn't come home in a wheelchair, but he's still the same. There's no basic change. She said, but you know I read this book on balancing your pH. She says, I'm really excited about it. I want to get this alkaline water machine. And Michael says, wait a minute. He says, I sat beside a guy. He's got these Kangen alkaline water machines. And right away my wife says, oh, I want it. I want it. I want it. Well, get him over here. So the next day he comes over. Meanwhile, she tells me about this machine and how much it is and so forth. I told her, you're not buying this machine. Are you nuts? We just spent $25,000. Leave me alone to die. Because basically that's what I was. I'd made arrangements with my life insurance guy, wanted to find out what the score was. I was basically on my way out. And she was so excited about this machine, just so excited. Anyways, there's a knock at my door the next day, and Kangen Joe was at the door. And he's about so high, and I says, what do you want? He said, I'm here, I'm Joe. He says, I'm here to show you the machine. I said, you are, eh? And anyways, I get a call from in the back room. She says, let him in, let him in. And I let him in like this. I was giving him this. I thought, you weren't selling my wife a machine. Anyways, he sets his display up like you're going to see here right now. I go out in the backyard. I don't want to talk. I don't want to see it. And I tell her before I go, you're not buying that machine. You understand? Don't spend any more money on me. You're not buying that machine. I go in the backyard. I'm a little 6-year-old pouting. I'm mad. I'm angry. You think I'm dying. I'm really dying now. Anyways, the demonstration starts, and she comes out. She says, get in here. I said, you're not buying that machine. She said, get in here. I said, I'm not. No, I don't want to. She says, you get in here. This machine is not for me. It's for you. Don't you understand that? She said, get in here. I've had 2.5 years of your sickness, tried everything there is, and I know this is the missing link to your health. I says, it's water, you nuts. Anyways, I go in and sit down beside my wife at the counter. We got a counter there, and Kangen Joe, that's his name. He starts into the demonstration with the water and puts a few drops in here. Next thing you know, my wife's sitting right here. Joe, Joe. She's got an envelope there. Out comes the cash, the $1,000 bills. Don't go any further. I want the machine. I'm sitting here now. I am. You think I'm really mad. I'm really, really mad. Anyways, we get the machine. I am in the corner, my dead man's corner, sitting in there. I'm angry. I'm upset, the whole works. What happens is she brings me a glass of water, and it's a glass of water like this. I don't drink water. Never have drank water. Never. Never drank water all my life. Big glass like that. Sits down. She's drink that. I said, oh, that's too much water. Oh, no. She says, you got to drink that. Anyways, I had a little trouble, but I drank it. She goes back and fills it up, another glass like that. And she said, drink that. And I says, I can't drink anymore. I just had that enormous thing, you know. She says, drink it. So she sat there. She made sure that I drank it. And another one came after that. And this went on. Of course, during the next few days, I'd lie to her. Are you sure you've had 140 ounces or of what? Oh, yeah. She'd make sure. She'd sit down and make sure, well, drink this glass right now. So she forced me to drink this water. She forced me to drink this water. Now, I was saying to her, this isn't doing anything for me. I'm going to the bathroom all the time. You know, So she carried on with this and bugged me about the water consistently. Anyways, we're going to fast forward 3.5 weeks. I'm 3.5 weeks on the water. I'm walking a little better, but that's about it. I'm waiting for something to happen. I mean, how can you get better in water? Are people crazy? Really? So this is the day before Father's Day. And this will go back 1.5 years ago. Okay? This is Saturday, and Susie comes up to me and she says, Gary, she said, the family's getting together. We're having our 11 grandchildren and our 4 lovely daughters, and we got a professional photographer coming. We're going to have brunch down on the beach. She's going to take these pictures of family, and she says, can you do something for me? I said, what? She says, can you make it a day for our family? You know, in other words, fake it if you have to. Well, the way I feel, I could care less. Anyways, I got to look forward to the next day because my existence. I mean, I'm existing, and that's about it. I go to bed I get to sleep reasonably well that night. Normally, when I get up, it takes me an hour to get dressed. I don't want to go downstairs. I feel terrible. Anyways, I get up, stand up. And the first thing I notice, I don't have any nausea because I had it for 2.5 years. No nausea. Now, the congestion that I had normally, I didn't basically have. Now, the aches that I normally wake up with, which are really horrendous, are moderate. And I'm kind of excited. Ooh, wait a minute, what's going on here? I get dressed in 5 minutes, and I'm going down the stairs. I just about get down to the bottom of the stairs, and I think, oh no, I'm not going to tell her. I know the walls are going to cave in. This is just a little glitch. This is going to come back. It's going to return. I didn't say nothing. Said nothing. Nothing. So we go to have brunch and get the pictures with a photographer, and I'm hugging my daughters, my grandchildren. We go and have brunch. I get up from the table, and I'm going around hugging all of my 11 grandchildren. I'm hugging them and kissing them. I'm telling him I love him. Because for 2.5 years, I never told him that I loved him. And I had my daughters there, and I'm hugging them and kissing them and everything like that. Meanwhile, I'm watching her, and she figures I'm putting on the greatest show on this earth. So we get home, and I go back into my dead man's corner, and I got a big glass of water. That's something different. She should have known something was going on. I got the big glass of water, I'm drinking this, and she comes over very quietly and sits down beside me, and she says, "Gary, I want to thank you for making this day for our family." And I said, I got news for you. And she says, "What?" I said, "I feel pretty good." And she says, "Since when?" I said, "This morning." Well, she said, "Why didn't you tell me?" I said, "Because I felt that the walls were going to cave in on me, dear." "Oh, God," she said, "you know what's happened to you?" And I said, "I don't know what's happened to me, but I'm embracing it. It's wonderful." She says, "Your body, you know, I told you about the acidic body. You have been so toxic from all the operations and the drugs and everything in general. Your body has gone from the sewer acidic state to the alkaline state." And for some unknown reason, I understood what she was saying, what she kept telling me about, that I got to this stage. And you know, we haven't looked back since then, because all of a sudden a person that didn't want a machine, now I'm walking down the street, my next door neighbor, they're here tonight, they see me, I'm walking, oh, you ought to see the way I walk, I'm walking real fast, and they're wondering, what is this guy on? What are you doing? I tell my neighbors about this water. And this is what's happened. Everybody wanted to find out what I did. Well, the simplest thing is I changed my water. My diet went with that too, don't forget. But what's happened is now I'm back into the business. I've been into business I hadn't even planned on. I hadn't planned on being business. I retired. We had to sell our business 2.5 years ago because of the simple reason I couldn't operate anymore. And now we've had to incorporate a company because I can't keep up with it. But my mission now, our mission, I'm sorry, dear, our mission now is to share this wonderful, wonderful Enagic machine with everybody, tell everybody. And we've been witnessing hundreds of people getting better. I'm telling you, cancer patients. My story, my wife is handling the cancer patients, I'm handling the colitis and all that kind of stuff. And we're getting amazing results. And you know, just drink the water. Change your water, get on this water, drink lots of it. The more you drink, the better. So I'm highly indebted. By the way, they didn't pay me to come here tonight. I just want to share my story. And if I can help one person, just one person in this room, turn their health around, you got to give this water a shot. You got to embrace this water. Drink it. It's the best water on the planet. What is the planet? That round thing we're on. You'll get nothing like this anywhere else in the world. I'd like to thank each and every one of you. Thank you for being here, and I hope that I've touched you in some way to make you make that move. Wait till you see the demonstration. Woo, it's impressive. Thank you.
Hi, this is Gary's next door neighbor, Evie, and they're also from Canada. Of course, she's going to tell you her story as well.
This is a complete shock. I didn't expect to be asked up. In fact, I talked to Barb to see how long this presentation would be because we have 3 people here from WorldMark with us tonight, and they wanted to know how long it would be. So I called, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I couldn't get a hold of Gary. Tell him he's going to be Mike." So I quickly phoned Susie's cell, which I have in my head, the number, and I'm talking to her, and I said, "Where are you guys going?" She said, "We're going. The meeting starts at 6. I said, "Oh my goodness, I told everybody it starts at 7. So we did a quick change artist, and here we're here. Anyway, I just, I didn't expect to be called up, but I'll just make it very quick. We called him Dead Man Walking. Now he's Live Man Talking or Yakking. But then I do much the same, but it's contagious. Yes, he got back to this unbelievable walking, talking person. He talks to Sam and I said, "You know, Sam, our neighbor Gary, he was so sick, we nicked him. We didn't tell him till he was better that we had called him Dead Man Walking, by the way." And I said, "I think, though, he's not only sick physically, I think now he's sick mentally, because he said water healed him. I'm really worried about him. Seriously, this was on a Sunday. Monday morning, he comes to my friend, the doors in the back, and he says, "Hi, Evie, here's some water." He's never talked to us before. I said, "Well, thanks, Gary, because I love people, and I like having." I talked to Susie; she's an awesome neighbor, and I didn't know about this Gary guy, so I said, "Well, thanks." And I start drinking the water. I like it. Next day, he comes with more. Hey, Gary, I can't drink that much water. What are you doing? Bringing me 10 liters? And he said, "Well, cook with it. Make your coffee with it. Make your soup with it. Your borscht." I start using everything with that water. Well, going back, okay, so Sam is watching Gary, and Susie, back there in the pink, said, "Get the book from Dr. Mushik Young. It's called The Water Puzzle." He read that book. We're chronically dehydrated in North America, and if we do drink water, we drink the acid water. So anyway, he read this book, and he believed all of it. He's a Korean scientist. I broke my 12th thorax. It means I have a compression in my 12th thorax. It's like this instead of like this, so I have chronic pain. At 62 years old, I lost my husband. 2 years later, I'm jumping on to melanoma. I'm jumping on a trampoline with my grandkids, and I'm 64 years old, okay? I used to do backflips. I'm stupid. But anyways, the guys were now a lot older, and I'm seeing the top of the trees. So I said, "Get off, stop, and I'll get off." So I take my jacket off, my cell phone off. I'm going to the backyard, to the shed, to get a power washer. But I get sidetracked with the trampoline, which I happen to love. And so I go back on the trampoline again. I'm thinking, "Oh, what am I doing? These boys are now 2, 3, 4 years older since we did trampoline things." So I did the stupidest thing I ever did in my life. I got down on my rump without telling them to stop jumping. The next bounce was on my back, and the next one with my legs over my back. That's when I did this to my back. My guy was painting our house. He had to help me off the trampoline. He wanted to carry me. I said, "No, we don't need 2 broken backs. Thank you very much." He got me off the trampoline. He wanted to just have me go into the basement. I said, "No, I got to go up the step while I can still walk." My doctor came over that night. He said, "Evie, what are you doing? What did you do?" I'm sent for x-rays. The next day I find out I have this fracture. Well, he told me, "You are going to be on painkillers the rest of your life." Okay, I'm stupid. I deserve it. So I'm even on morphine. They couldn't control the pain with just normal things. Eventually I was on ibuprofen. I'm back to work and sitting at a switchboard at this point in my life at a job, and I'm on ibuprofen every day. So I was on ibuprofen when Gary came. He didn't know I was a drug addict. Well, anyway, 3.5 weeks of drinking the water, I said to Sam, "You know what? See, I do a lot of baking and stuff like that, so I'm at about 4 o'clock, my back's finished." I said, "I haven't taken a painkiller. Can't be the water, because now I'm crazy." And truthfully, that's what happened. So I don't have to take painkillers anymore for my compression. My back is still, that hasn't changed, but the hydration of the joints, so no back pain. And if I'm off to Mexico without the machine, in about 2-3 weeks, I will feel it, but it's coming with us next time. But there's lots more I could tell you. But my sister, for 1 year, Susie found out when my sister-in-law had colon cancer. June 25th last year, she had 22 inches of intestines removed. And she didn't want chemo, but the doctors want her to have chemo. 50% chance to live if you take the chemo. She said, "How much if I don't?" 35. She said, at 78 years old, 50% chance, I don't want the poison. She wouldn't take it. Susie goes, "Yeah, good, good, good." So she gets on the water. My brother's an idiot. He didn't buy the machine. He thought that was silly. So we brought water 3 times a week from South Surrey to North Surrey, 15 miles, whatever it was, 3 times a week. June 25th of this year, they bought a machine. She's absolutely